What's up YouTube, Pewsily here, bringing you the most up-to-date Dark World deck I've got for September 2012. Toronto's just happened, so YCS Toronto, and 3 Dark World decks made it into the top 32, 2 into the top 16, and then 1 into the top 8. They were all slightly different to each other, nothing major, but the big thing they had in common was a drastically lower focus on skill drain. With basically Insectors dead and Chaos Dragons infinitely less consistent. The Dark World deck has a lot less to fear from monster effects, and you also have to factor in the fact that Dark World heroes, and to quite a large extent to be honest, Rabbit, dodge skill drain very nicely, so it was a good call and one that I was thinking of as well. Obviously don't live anywhere near Toronto, so it couldn't have gone, but they helped me to sort of get into focus what I'd want to run. Their decks seemed a little rough around the edges in my opinion. I mean, they did very well to make it that far though, so they must be doing something right, but here we are. Here's how I would run it. I took this exact deck to my locals and went undefeated, so it definitely works. You got the usual Dark World awesomeness, your ulti brows. So you got the main 9, this never changes. I've never seen a Dark World build that doesn't run these 9. So there you are. Moving on, the new tech is double silver and then your standard 1 beige. The double silver in there because the mirror match is really popular at the moment. I went to my locals and didn't really know what to run. I decided on running Dark World because I actually fancied running into the mirror match, and there were a couple of people running it, so throw in silver because it absolutely wrecks there, and he put in work. It's just the fact that basically as well, more monsters is better when you're running no skill drains. And because you're not running skill drain, Tour Guide again becomes an awful lot more viable, and it's always got targets because of the 3 brow. So almost every single time now I went Tour Guide into Tour Guide, so that you won't top it dead later on and ruin your drag downs, because drag down's more important than Tour Guide. So that's your monsters. You're on 14 of those, and then spells as always is a very high count. So again, you're going to have the standard things. 3 gates is pretty much mandatory. I go ballsy and I like triple drag down because it's the thing that makes the deck most consistent. It's the one thing that you can always add in that's going to make the deck more consistent. If you start dropping dealings, you know, down to 1, 2, or even 0, if you fear the mirror match that much, then the deck becomes much more consistent. You have a better mirror match, but you have a worse matchup against everything else. If you don't subscribe to Underworld 6667 and those channels, they actually got deck lists of a lot of the Dark World players there, and they all said the same thing. They didn't play any Dark World mirrors. 3 Dark Worlds top 32, they didn't play any Dark World mirrors all day. They were saying that, you know, they were running some Trance Archfiends and they were running less Dark World dealings, and they had a lot of side deck space for it, and they didn't run into them. They saw a lot less Dark World there than they were expecting. So as a result, their decks were slightly less consistent than they could have been. And if they'd been more ballsy and didn't really care about the mirror so much, they perhaps could have done better. And that's just the way I think about it. You then got the 3 dragged, which is probably the most broken card, aside from card destruction in the entire deck. It's just, again, being able to see your opponent's hand is absolutely beautiful. Just the fact that it can hit spells, traps, or monsters as well is gorgeous. I've never liked running Mind Crush there, it's just me personally. I think it's too slow, and it's a horrible, horrible top deck. You then got 2 Upstart Goblin. I was actually running 3 originally, and then I decided I really wanted to run Starlight Road. So because you're not running the Dark Bribes anymore, the only 1 protection you've got from when you set your whole hand for this drag down is Solemn. And you don't want to Solemn a first turn Heavy Storm just because you set your whole hand. So dropped an Upstart Goblin, didn't miss it, and Upstart Goblin gives you awesome things to side out. So you then really got your one-ofs. So these, they're all busted as hell. These 2, honestly, you can actually side out if you think your opponent's going in for Rabbit and you're not going first. Going for Macro, sorry, not Rabbit. Macro or D Fissure, and you're not going first. So I actually did that, sided out those 2. If I thought my opponent was siding in Macro, which one Rabbit player did, that instantly goes out. And then that went out for game 2 when I was going second, and then back in for game 1. So, but yeah, staples really overall. Don't really think you should be dropping any of those. It is actually quite trap heavy as well, which is why I think it's so successfully good. The turbo engine, because turbo is the best build. You look at any build that's topped and they've all been turbo, apart from Robert Bryant. He is an enigma. But anyway, yes, 3 Reckless Greeds again gives you something really easy to side out, and it just means that you outpace any deck. It doesn't really matter what the deck is, you outpace it. Your staple, Solemn Judgment. The one teched Deck Devastation Virus, because I felt like I needed a little bit more of a push against wind-ups. I didn't actually face any in my locals, and they're normally really popular, but I can imagine going second, you'd have perhaps tough times if they don't, or if they do open Godly against you. So Deck Devastation Virus in there just to sort of reckon you could put a second one in the side deck or something. You then got double Torrential and double Bottomless, because I actually really like this at the moment, especially in Dark World, because you can afford to sit for a couple of turns and do nothing and then wipe the whole field with a Torrential, and it works so much. Nobody expects it, and I don't understand why, but Torrential and Bottomless were the MVP trap cards of the day. They were just fantastic. They put in absolute work. So you got those, and they are awesome. And as I said earlier, the one Starlight Road, I only got it off like 2, maybe 3 times in the day, but that doesn't really matter. You get it off once, and then your opponent is not going to heavy storm you really again. You only need the one because your opponent only has to see it, or have seen you play it against someone else, or know that you have it, and you show them the Stardust or something. And yeah, that's it. Just the fear of the Starlight Road is almost as strong as the Starlight Road itself. So there's that. I mean, the extra deck could probably use work because it's using 2 silvers. You could potentially find room for rank 5s in there, because it's one of those decks where there is a lot of extra deck space. So your Leviathan Dragon, can you see that? Yeah. 2 Zen Mains. I would like to trade this super and upgrade it to a secret if anyone has one for trade. And then 2 Leviair, which is the best card. And this one needs to be first edition. It annoys me so much. I automatically go for the first edition one if I'm going to use it. But there's Tempo, which is a really good card, just like last format. It's your easy out to Zen Mains. Moza Rhythm and Mellow Melody, just because they are fiends. I have never ever used this. And this guy, under Gates, goes to 3/6. He's beastly. Giga Brilliant is amazing in the mirror match, just so you know. Your 1 Roach, just for any sort of plant decks you might come across. It's just generically good. And again, it's a fiend, big under Gates. Utopia is pretty much staple. I'm dropping cards now. You got your 1 Majiggery guy, Maestroke, sorry, that's his name. And then you got 1 Gemlight Pearl, which I have dropped on the floor, so I apologise. And your last extra deck card is Heliopolis, just because it's extra destruction from your extra deck that your opponent doesn't see coming, and it basically just conserves your Graphas. It compiles them all together, saves them, so if they've got a D Fissure up, you can actually go into this and save them, and then because you run the Starlight Road, you've got your 1 Stardust, so it's the extra deck there. But yeah, the deck works actually incredibly well. I decided to foil it all out for once rather than going all common, and now like there are more foil cards in there, like the Upstart Goblins and things. It does work a bit better, and I really cannot wait for the foil drag downs, like nerd orgasm right there. So there we are. Like I said, I went undefeated with that one. I then actually pulled a Grand Soil from my pack, so he's quite nice. So yeah, there we are. As always, like, it does help. Comments if you have any, and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers.